Okay, there we go. I fixed that. Can we confirm that? Sorry, what? Y- Do you do you see the Mind Clash with the Discord box there? This is our like we're still working on things, but at least something's on the screen. Yeah, just one more second. Okay, I'm going to start the stream, but we have a video beforehand, so I will mute Discord and you guys can still talk as the video plays, and then I'll transition, and then I'll come on and start talking, and that'll start the show. I know, like super fancy, it's all gonna burn, we're all gonna die. Well, I definitely didn't push the right buttons.
Hello there, my name is Johnny Pugh, and
But
this morning I'm on
we
the
appreciate
Singularity
you.
server spying on an
It's the thought that counts.
The video worked. The sound, I gotta click the sound button. Oh well.
Well, what the? Hello
Stupid.
there, audience.
All right, we are good. Welcome everyone to Mind Clash Podcast, episode 16. We're here with Asherathi and Orion Sasolo and my regular co-host Kale Decadence. We almost all have video tonight.
True story.
Please,
And
please no webcam shaming.
until my internet shits, and then to my picture.
Well, let's get with quick intros. Let's start with Asherathi.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ash Sharathi. I have been playing this game for about 6 years and have, for the last 4 years, been blogging, podcasting, and streaming and doing whatever else I can do so that I can talk about this game for as much as I can. I'm also the CEO of Aderon Robotics, the premier corporation for Galente Alpha clones.
And I believe they're recruiting.
We are recruiting.
You, Dreadit, and Karma Fleet. Yep. Orion?
Brian Solo, been playing for 3 years. Currently with Dystopian Heaven of CO2 and Minor FC and Blogger.
A busy man. A busy man. Kale, do you want to do an introduction or?
I would certainly love doing an introduction. So, yep, Kel Decadence, and I am a member of Entropy of Annihilation Corporation, and we're currently somewhere I don't know because I can't get enough internet connection to actually play very often. So, I just have my my cat carrier parked somewhere, and I've been messing around with an alpha character.
Winning Eve in the truest
Oh
fashion.
yeah, for sure.
And I am Merdad. I'm in the Shadow State Corporation in the Goonswarm Alliance. Currently hanging out in Delve and screwing around in the north. But a pretty busy week in Eve as far as player news goes, and lots of stuff to talk about.
Who's having a party?
My TV. I will fix
Oh, your
that.
TV's having a party. No, that's fine. I was like, they're so excited for you to be on stream right now.
We're filmed in front of a live studio audience, didn't you know?
Woo!
Yeah, us
Like,
and
it's
Gilmore
like
Girls, yeah.
it's like the outside of Good Morning America.
See, I don't know how I feel about that. We didn't get like an applause track after our introductions.
You
Well,
know, I was
after our
thinking about doing that, getting a like a soundboard mixer because I've got plenty of clips of embarrassing things that we've said over the past few episodes. I saved them.
Well, after our singing debacle last week, we shouldn't go off the rails too much.
I wouldn't call it a debacle.
I think that that's a fair term.
Anyway, so yeah, you are correct. We have lots of news. And Asherothi was kind enough to point out an article from Crossing Zebras about what we missed this week.
Yeah,
So-
that's Cosmo, who is a writer and editor for Crossing Zebras. He's been doing that for the last 2 weeks, and I think he's going to make it into a weekly column if he can.
I like his thing on there. It says space important people news. Nice. But yeah, so there was some things that happened. We're talking about. Let me see. Let me see the good stuff. Good stuff. Oh boy, where's the good stuff? Doesn't make it very outlined. I have to read it. I
Well-
don't want to read.
Well, there were
One thing that we have seen is a lot of new information about the upcoming event that's going to be going on, the Yule Festival for YC119. So that technically makes it a New Year's party.
Yes, there was some dank CC leaks this week.
Yes, not only so now we've already seen the skins, which are pretty cool looking. They've got like dark blue to white gradient baseline, and then like this like light blue or like dark blue like spots on it, almost like a leopard. And it's for all of the T1 alphas. So frigates, destroyers, and cruisers for alphas, except for no faction or anything like that. Just the base T1 stuff for the 4 factions. We've seen some new hats and stuff for the festival. Some cool sweaters, like almost like a holiday sweater sort of thing. Although it's the 4 races and their ships. And now we weren't really sure if it was going to be a giveaway or if it was going to be like a site, but now we've actually seen that there's going to be boosters for these winter festivals, like attribute boosters, kind of like we saw with the Crimson Harvest, which
Yeah.
which tells us that it's probably going to be site based. um, but there's a lot of questions about that because like in all of the previous sites, it's like go there and blow them up. There's like this hostility to it. With the winter festival, that kind of doesn't seem like the case. So the question is, how are they going to, what kind of site are we going to look at? Are they going to be a combat site or are they going to be something else?
I mean, probably just based on what we've had before, it'll be some sort of combat site, like one of those. You go in there, you fight a few waves of cruisers, and then a battle cruiser, and then you open the box and find your goodies.
Right. And that's
Christmas
what I'm saying.
goodies.
Like that's what I'm curious about is how they're going to justify it because, with the Crimson Harvest, the Blood Raiders are like doing this horrific thing. You go kill them. With the Frostline event last year, the Serpentis were basically being their nuts kicked in by Upwell over Ore and the stolen blueprints, which caused the Frostline
Right.
initiative. So there's always this
Right.
like sense of hostility that drives you to go fight these things. But if this is like a festival, I kind of like, what are they going to do? It's like to celebrate the new year, let's go blow people up,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So it could probably be better suited as like an exploration or like a data site or maybe like a relic, some sort of
Yeah,
relic
that's what I was.
find.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is probably something along the lines where you have to hack a can or something similar to that.
I have no idea. It's kind of one of those interesting things. It's also going to be the first event that's occurred since Ascension, so it's going to be interesting to see if CCP roll out any additional things. Like maybe it's going to be a whole different structure, and this is going to be a reward system that uses the old Scope network uh, distribution system. Like there's no telling what the details of what this is going to be quite yet. We just the fact that we see that there's boosters kind of tells us that this is going to be an ongoing event that you can collect, you can do things to collect them as opposed to like a one-time giveaway.
Yeah, the incentives of boosters is definitely a good reason to get out there and collect a whole bunch, right? Because if it's the same as the last event, you need like 30 of the boosters for one character. That's a lot of sites to run. That's a lot of ships out in space collecting something that everyone could theoretically use. And since the last one, and this one and this exact same stats, is better skill points per hour than an injector for high skill point players, there's a really good incentive to get out there and collect these sites.
The funny thing about them is that so CCP has been experimenting with these sites obviously for the last year. Every event is slightly different than the others in several different ways, like in the number of ships, how the site is exactly placed, but mostly in the reward system. They've tried accumulating points to unlock big rewards. They've tried just skins. They tried basically just neural boosters. They tried like you don't know what it'll be, but it could even be a plex, all those kinds of things. And what we discovered over the course of a year is that literally these accelerators are the most consistent motivator to get people to want to do these events throughout the entire season.
Oh yeah.
And
If I know I can get a boost out of just like 20, 30 minutes out of my day, I'm getting a boost.
right. And this makes, if you think about it, that makes these things even better than the old like that daily concept that they tried out, right? Because it's in a lot of ways it's the same thing, right? It's go run one site and then you get X number of SP for it because however much extra SP you get for the extra 24 hours or 48 hours if you've trained the skill. So
Yeah, one of the big downsides of that small reward for doing anything was that it was not a bigger incentive for you to go out and do a series of sites or explore a new region or
And
take
it
it.
was way too grindy. Like if you actually wanted to get that top tier shit, you're like, you've got to spend 40 hours every
Oh, that
week
was a
on
different
that.
one. You're
No, that
talking
was a
about
different one.
the Shadow of the Serpent one, where
Yeah,
you had to collect the points from the sites. Yeah,
yeah, screw that.
I think we all learned a lot of lessons design wise when it came to that one. I don't think it'll be the last we've seen that kind of scope, that delivery system with the scope network. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of drawing board to go back to when it came to the Shadow of the Serpent event, because the problem is that it, even the people that engaged with it were just burned out. Like nobody finished it and was like, "Yeah, what's next?" Like, and that
Yeah,
might be okay for some things, and it was okay. Like maybe one or two events a year that level of dedication be a thing. But if you tried to do that for every single event, I mean, look at the next event after that. The next event after that was literally, what was it? The Purity of the Thrones. Just like go to the site, collect the bacon. It was like the exact opposite of Shadow of the Serpent, because they're like, okay, well, you went through the grind. Now just here, have prizes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I mean, are the alphas gonna even be able to use the boosters at all?
Yes, they can. Yep, they get. I mean, they effectively get half the SP out of it because they train at half speed. But they get basically the way it works is it just increases your attributes. So that would work for alphas or omegas. I don't think that they'll be able to train the skills that allow them to like have it last longer though. I'm not sure about that. I don't think they get the
See,
drug skills.
see, I'm thinking it'd be probably more of an ISK thing for them. So you probably see a lot more alphas selling them, maybe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're going to see a lot of alphas trying to figure out how to finish these sites quickly in their cruiser, in their little T1 cruisers, and then you're going to see a lot of garmers and other like high end equipment just ninjing stuff, because especially, well, that's the other thing. Like you're going to have to figure out some way to fix the problem, because right now with the last two events, when it's like kill the rat to do it, that rat is based on how much damage that they've been done. It basically the hands it to the person who has done the most damage. And so if you have T2 pirate blingy equipment, you are going to beat alphas every single time. And that's going to be kind of annoying. Also, we've already seen the number of exploration sites. Like exploration sites have been seriously hard to find in the last few days because uh, we've had so many alphas just basically running around hoovering everything that isn't nailed down.
everything, taking all
Yeah.
the asteroids, everything.
So the question is that what's going to happen with these sites? There's a lot of unknowns. We do know that it's useful to alphas. It's basically catered to them. So we'll see. We'll see how it works out. The nice thing about the Shadow of the Serpent event, by the way, the one really cool thing about it was that it gave value to everyone that was on grid. So like when the site finished, everyone was awarded points. So that meant that cooperation was way more supported. Whereas in the current, in like the skin drop mechanism, then only the top hitter gets the prize. So um, again, it could be interesting if they went with more of like a cooperative site based mechanic to allow the alphas to work together, because that's where the strength of alphas come from, is numbers. Also,
What?
I'm getting a lot of white noise now.
Hey, what is this? Torrell's custom magnetic field stabilizer that I'm seeing in this link that we have on here.
Yeah, so the other thing that's in those files, that's just basically was somebody that noticing all of the stuff that
Yeah, new things.
were on Sissy at the same time. So those are, each race looks like they're getting a damage modifier for their ship's weapon type that is named after the mentor from the NPE. And its effectiveness is just below T2. So like between Meta 4 and T2. So it's technically a storyline object. So it's probably going to be like a bonus prize from part of the Inception MPE, or maybe given at some point in the MPE, or maybe something for the next phase of the MPE or something.
Thanks, Skypey, for the follow.
I'm sorry, I have a intruder in my room. I got a roommate recently, so just walking around making noise.
Ash, mute your Skype if you're getting white noise.
Okay.
I think he is. I think he is.
All right, that's awesome. I love those seasonal events. I really get a lot of playtime in when they're out. I love grinding those sites. I do it in low sec, which is a little bit out of my comfort zone, and I don't get into too much combat, but I really get a good buck out of them.
The other cool thing is the beret.
Yes. So
Is that for Galmill and Cowmill, or is it just Galmill?
we don't. No, it's all 4 races. Plus
All of them, nice.
the Blood Raiders got fixed, so it's now off to the side like all of the others with a proper NATO flash. Um, Other than that, we don't know much. Like we don't know if it's going to be part of the new event. We don't know if it's going to be part of faction warfare. I did dock up in an FTU station and checked the LP market, and it was not for sale. So
where's this beret?
Yeah, exactly. So right now it's basically only in the files and on the market, but
Yeah,
I don't think
that'd be-
anybody's discovered the way to find it yet.
Yeah, that'd be totally cool when it comes out. So you can actually like have it set up to like, all right, everyone, you're all gonna wear this fucking beret, period, or else you're not in Galmill.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna. I know that my Galmill Alpha, because he's his story is that he is like 100% like grew up military
Yes, I
kind
love
of a
it.
guy.
That'd be
So
awesome.
he's gonna
Good
have
for
the
role
beret
playing.
and everything. Oh yeah. The other thing is that this is gonna, from my understanding, this is kind of part of an initiative in CCP to allow players to kind of identify more with all of the different factions. So if you notice, the Blood Raiders was the first one we got. Now we're getting these empires. We're probably going to see a lot more of the other factions, like pirate factions and whatnot. We saw a lot more of the jackets for the pirate factions now. They're basically allowing us to customize our appearance and kind of say things about ourselves through our clothing, which I think is actually ultimately a better way to go about it all, other than like the whole like designer jeans concept was sort of weird, but like the fact that I can show my affiliation by my appearance, that's something worth talking about, I think.
As long as we have no monocle gate again.
Oh god. All right. Yeah. That
Enough. Yeah.
What's interesting as far as how these things are getting designed and rolled out is it feels like the art team, with all of its resources, is well ahead of the development team, which has all the regular stumblings that it has to get across, with all the ways that players can game the system and screw with the market and manipulate it into some crazy fucking well of ISK. But the art team can just roll these new art assets out, and we can play with Purity of the Throne skins or the new jackets in our new way of RPing or choosing our loyalties without having too big of an impact on the game.
Yeah, the problem is, okay, so years ago, for a long time, especially when it came to like new features coming out, especially like new ships, I think it was, or like stuff like that, a lot of times the art team was the bottleneck historically, and that hasn't been talked about as much in the last 3 years ago or so. So maybe they like fixed that problem, and now it is a design bottleneck. Maybe they've just stopped talking about it as much. Maybe the art team, maybe that's the reason why they went through so many iterations of their rendering engine, or not their, but you know what I mean, their V5 or V3, or they updated the stuff really kind of rapid fire for a few years, and probably building in the baseline that they needed, and now they can just kind of build with the toys. I don't know what the cause of that transition is, and so it's hard for me to tell how easy or how difficult some of these individual changes are to get in. I do know that some of the best changes are usually stuff that's done during personal time, because a lot of people's like dedicated time are going to be dedicated to like the next structure that's rolling out, or something that's like CCP is put really high on their priority list, or maybe like if something is a bottleneck for, or a blocker for something else, like trying to finish the transition on all of the different structures in the whole game, so that way they can roll out the next thing. Whatever that is, that takes up the majority of their time. And then they're given 20%, I think it is, of their own time to work on whatever they want. Some of them work on other projects, which become things like Valkyrie. Some people work on things that they love about the game, or they love the game, but they don't love something about the game. Like, for instance, uh, the simulator, the new fitting simulator that is amazing. For the reason why it took so long, the reason why it took like 2 or 3 years to build it was because it was a 20% project for a lot of people. It was never a major priority. It was just a labor of love by those devs. Another good example is the hacking mini game. Got the little numbers that tell you how far away the thing was. That was just one of the devs was like, you know what, this isn't quite interesting enough, and added it as a way of kind of boosting it forward. So it it is true that it is fairly easy to roll out, maybe to potentially be like, okay, well, this is now a Garissa's jacket versus a Blood Raiders jacket. But the other thing is that a lot of those people don't have a lot of spare time to even do that.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to poke in there, it's a little bit of a tangent, but did you see the new Valkyrie trailer for their new patch, which features a Rorqual, some porpoises or noctises, orbiting a structure in an ice belt, perhaps a drilling platform?
I thought it was a
I
gate.
have not seen this.
I thought it was a Stargate. Isn't the name of the thing something gate? Hold on.
Yeah, I think it's called Gate Crash, but
I guess when I watched it, I mean, you could be right, but I was just presuming it was a Stargate.
I don't
So
know what
this
it
is
is.
a Valkyrie trailer you're talking about?
If I was good at the video thing, I would go find this video and play it for us. But I'm not that good yet.
Right, so you're saying it's a Valkyrie trailer and it features corpses and Nocti?
It's that model, and there's a Rorqual, a sieged Rorqual in the background, and there's obviously Valkyrie fighters flying around this structure. Fighters can launch from structures.
So is this going to be like a level that we're seeing in Valkyrie, or is this the preview of what's to come of the integration?
No, so what it is that they just received a patch which added a new map and a big rebalance.
But is this Eve Valkyrie art assets leading ahead of the Eve development assets?
Yeah, it's called Gate Crash. I got the video for you if that would help.
Oh, I could push buttons if somebody holds the airtime.
I pushed the button once. Anyways, while he's trying to figure that out, one other slight news article. I know last week we talked about the mysterious tweet that Fozzie put out, but this week CCP Carker did a tweet which some viewed as rude. What she said was, "Dear hashtag tweet fleet, this psychotic behavior of not finishing data/relic sites with only crap left has to stop. Thanks." And apparently, it was seen as rude, and not a lot of people liked it. I don't know.
So CCP Carker is
Whom I love.
the queen of Tweet Fleet.
Oh, for
And
sure.
if you don't think so, tweet something stupid and she will wreck you. Like
Yeah.
she does it all the time. So I'm sure that she was just trolling, and other people were just, well, not, she's not trolling, but I'm sure that people were just trolling her or whatever, because it is true. They're like I said earlier, especially with the emergent alphas, it's been so hard to find sites recently. And I haven't seen any cherry pick sites myself, but that is, let's teach our alphas some good etiquette. Finish your sites, guys. I agree with her.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna try.
All right.
Oh, I gotta turn my volume up.
Oh, it worked. I think it worked.
Yes.
So it could be a Stargate. Could be a drilling platform with that rotating artificial grav kind of structure.
Do you think I could convince my wife to get me a fucking Oculus Rift when I get back from deployment with all my fat deployment money?
How about two? I definitely
Two?
need one.
Okay, yeah, for research
I'll take one.
purposes.
I'll take one. If
For
we're
research
giving them, if we're
purposes.
just giving them out.
You get an Oculus Rift. You get an Oculus Rift.
And I mean, if it's all the same, a Vive would be. No, I'm
Okay.
just kidding.
So that's cool. That's a bit of a tangent, but another cool change that's coming in the CC leaks is perhaps Citadel festival launchers.
Oh man.
This action takes place around a partially constructed warp gate surrounded by asteroids
Asteroids.
in a vibrant polar toned nebula.
Crushing my hope here.
This is what I do.
Who parked
that's
Who
what-
parked a Stargate in the middle of an ice belt?
What's
Who does
hilarious
that?
is that so all these people think that like I'm the Lord of Tinfoil or something, but really I just kind of people come to me and I just crap on their ideas, and then occasionally I pick one up and think it's worth freaking out about.
Maybe they'll change it.
Master Troll.
There is a structure, like one of the stations has like that artificial grav. Isn't the one of the ones in Thera like that?
Yeah, with the rotating, whatever centrifuge almost. I don't even know the word. I don't know the word for that, but it rotates so as to create artificial gravity.
Yeah. But yeah, Citadel Festival launchers. A long asked for part of the community.
I mean,
I'm sure
they have
Eve's
to,
got all
right?
of it.
They have to. It makes sense with the winter release.
Yeah, it would. Well, yeah, I imagine they could even give it out as part of the festival, because festival launchers were originally just giveaways for Christmas and New Year's and stuff before. So maybe they'll just do it again.
And there was some other sneaky changes, perhaps coming to the Dead Space style rats for wormholes, with an addition of neutralizers on a couple of new NPCs. Perhaps the drones getting newts.
Yeah, those are kind of hard to always eat. You want to take those kinds of changes with a grain of salt, because they're tweaking with stuff all the time, and there's no patch note for this or anything like that. It's literally like a new version of Sissy comes out and they're ripping it all apart and doing a complete data dump to figure out anything that's possibly changed. And one of the things that we've seen is that they're messing with some of the NPC rats, including a lot of crazy stuff like capital NPCs in missions, and neutralizers on drones and stuff like that. Now, we do know that there is an interest in redoing their AI and redoing a lot of this PvE content, but how these specific changes will if these are like going to be rolled out in December and just let's deal with it, or if this is part of something greater, it's still unknown.
For sure.
Okay, so battle reports. Who was in MTECO on Sunday night? Not
I
me.
was.
Oh yeah, well tell me about it.
Okay. Take a cold tub of water, stick your face in it for about 6 hours.
Sounds yeah. I heard it was like literally turned out to be like 50 minutes, 50 minutes of actual playtime, but going across basically the entire day.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just gonna link something real quick.
Yeah,
What?
I can't.
Our boss did a small AMA Reddit thing on how it was to use the Keep Star in its first real kind of battle with it. And
Yeah, so
basically, due to the tie dye, you couldn't. It just wasn't effective. It basically rendered the Keep Star for the most part ineffective in its full capabilities.
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of funny battle reports and funny ARs. I know Dirk McGurk. I think he was there, and a lot of people were there, and it was just so slow. But one of the funnier threads was they're talking about like, oh, I'm just gonna go, make some puff pastries and meat pies and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it came down to the point where people were like, we were told we closed local, not just to stay away from it, which is good anyway, but it actually gave you more frames per second to close local.
Oh yeah, because it's just streaming and streaming and streaming of just nonsense.
It's a
I
classic
mean,
tie-dye trick. That and turning the sound off.
we were chomping through FCs just because lag was DCing people. You would think you'd hold reps on someone, but that person was dead for a few minutes even. Broadcast, not being broadcasting targets. I was FC for a good 10, 20 minutes, which would have been without tie day maybe a minute and a half with primaries being called.
How is it that we went from doing this brain in the box and getting a server upgrade and talking about reducing this to where we're at now, and we're still, I mean, granted, yes, there was like 4,000 people in system, but at what point are we going to start getting less tie-dye?
Well, you did. I mean, if you were outside MTECO, the effect was pretty low. I forget
Yeah.
who posted it. Someone else from another blog posted it. I'll link him here in a second once I find it again. But he said once you went into Tazy next door or eTecho, there was literally almost no lag. So in effect, it did help quite a bit because it didn't create
Yeah.
server lag for an entire region.
yeah. The thing is that like when they even did the upgrade, they said that here is our system, and then we have this Everest node that we can upgrade people to. And in our new system, basically every node is the Everest node. So Brain in the Box is making it so that when people are jumping in and out or warping on and off, they're not going to have to worry about a whole bunch of calculations when it comes to like changing stats and whatnot, which is what allows for boosts to exist, the boost system to exist and stuff like that. But it's not going to greatly reduce the lag in this moment, because what's happening is the server is just running out of time, right? So the server can only process so many different things in a second. And if the number of things that it's getting to do in a second, or the things that it has to do in a second, takes longer than a second, then it has to slow down time, and that's what time dilation is. So getting better servers, servers are only get like so much better. The more people we have, the more commands are happening at any given time. That's the reason why you see this weird behavior, is because what happens is that the buffer literally fills up for the server that's frantically trying to crank through it all in order to make sure that it calculates everything. So it's kind of interesting, because on the one hand, it's terrible. It's some of the worst gameplay ever. On the other hand, it's also probably in the best state it's ever been in the history of Eve. Like, it's significantly better than even like a year ago, or
Oh, yeah.
God forbid, before tie-dye existed, when it was basically like you get to 3,000, it's like, okay, black screen.
Yeah. Server
Now
crash.
everybody go to Zkill to find out if you died.
Yeah.
So we're trending definitely in a positive direction, but that's, I think, the point, which is that these kind of capstone fights are good to happen every once in a while because they're good for people to want and hope for and work towards and whatnot. But they're just not good gameplay. They're not day-to-day good gameplay. And so they're really pretty. They make some great video, but let's only have them once every, so many months.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think after we finish this podcast and I do the show notes and everything and put them on the website, I'm gonna link some of these videos because I'm looking at a few that see Dave B 327 link targets of opportunity. That's looks like a good video, but yeah,
Did you
there's
see the one
lots
with
of
the
good video.
caracals?
Yeah, yeah,
They said that the way he got it, which actually CCP, somebody from CCP came in and gave him some tips, so he might actually clean it up even more. But
nice.
literally, he said that the majority of what he did was he sped it up by 600 times.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that
it was
totally
so
makes
slow.
sense.
Yeah, and after speaking to a bunch of people and reading a lot, like no one enjoyed the fight whatsoever, like from all sides for the most part. Um, I don't know if it's good to have these fights. Maybe if nothing else, maybe try to keep progressing, trying to get these nodes a little bit better, and try to progress the stuff to do it and quality control kind of things if we can. But no one enjoyed that. But these are what's going to happen when you have keep star fights. If you're
I,
going to have these
I
keep star fights, they're going to be huge.
I think there was a few people who might have enjoyed this, but for different reasons. Let me go forward with this. 2056 tie-dye continues. Boat is reported to be doing laundry, and unclear at this time if it will affect his bombing runs. 2110 Tiberius Stargazer of NC has been passing the time during tie-dye by making a chicken pie from scratch. Dirk McGurk is considering setting up his Christmas tree and making pasta and meatballs from a McGurk secret recipe. So it looks like some people were having some fun.
Well, again, they were probably in supers as well, and the supers were literally in no danger whatsoever in that whole
Yeah.
fight. So they literally just had their fighters on there.
So
So
this,
yeah, I could see how that's boring to them.
That chicken pie looked really good. I want to have some now.
I mean, this plays into a discussion I had with my corp mates this week, where we talked about kind of how these single point fights are really the design opposite of what CCP is going for, right? With Aegis Sov and in trying to break up the fights into smaller, isolated pockets on multiple systems so multiple nodes can be initiated to spread the fight out and have less tie-dye on the overall. But for some reason, there's this old blood mentality that people still want these single point, massive number, huge fights. As much as I like 1,000, 2,000 man fight on the premise, like it is terrible to be in 2% tie dye.
Yeah.
So, okay, there's a thing that I think that we've lost sight of, which was the original design concept that led to the sovereignty that we now have. How many people here have been playing this game for like more than 3 or 4 years?
2011
This
Okay.
was
Yeah, so you guys remember like back when people were talking about what they wanted from a new null?
the whole new null deal with like
Yeah.
occupancy
That was
saw.
weird. That was weird. But I mean, like for years, the term that people used was farms and fields.
Yeah.
The idea being that you would have certain built up places that would function like cities, and then you would have kind of areas around those cities that had little villages and whatnot, but were mostly farming communities effectively. So you had like missioning and all that stuff in this, and PI and moon mining in these big fields with these capstone fortresses in the middle. And I think that that's actually where we've gotten to, because Aegis Sov ensures that you can only control so much, and people can come and raise your fields relatively well with a small but quick strike, or maneuverable team that's dedicated and want to harass you enough. They can burn your fields. But once you get past that, you have to go after their fortifications, and those fortifications take huge sieges, and that's what you're seeing here. So you've got the Aegis Sov, which is basically if you can hold the land, then you get to have it. And then you have these citadels and other structures, with, of course, the Keep Star representing the pinnacle of like established dominance over that area. And so I guess it makes sense that of all of them is kind of this capstone fight.
I mean, when you put something out like a Keepstar, you're playing to the big fight mentality. Like we all have the old big grinds and stuff like that to get these fights at pauses and stuff like that. But I also think the Age of Sov thing is a bit of a misnomer because, as you can see with the NCPL thing, we could get around some of those things. But if you can effectively cut off an area through the ability to bridge, jump bridges, sinos, and whatnot, you can effectively shut them off and basically close off regions to them with a sufficient amount of caps, even. And like you see, the Rorqual and Tosising is pretty cancerous. It's really hard to kill these things without having a mass number of bombers. And then once you get the panic mode on there, it gives them plenty of time to respond to any threat to those things.
So that's a separate issue. Do you want to go into what PL is doing with their Rorqual fleet?
I think it's pretty straightforward. Don't really need to dig into it. They're using a mechanic that's very damn effective at what it does. I mean, there's just nothing to be done about it, unless CCP goes in about. Who was it? ProGod Legend posted on Reddit about how he thinks it's broken and how CCP had mentioned something that they shouldn't be able to do in TOSes, something like that. I'll have to find the link for it on Reddit.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we found that we shouldn't be able to do, but we still somehow managed to do until CCP takes it away from us.
So, for those who aren't in the know in the nullsec we're fighting over Sov world, PL and NC are using Rorquals with Entosis links, and they're Entosising down whatever objective they want to Entosis. Then if they get in trouble, which is really unlikely because they have one of the best local tanks in the game,
Oh yeah.
they will just put a Sino up and draw in all the rest of the Rorquals who are out doing the same objectives, and that's it. They have a pretty...
Why can't you jam them? Do they have resistance against jamming?
I have to look. I think it's the same thing if they go in their industrial core. It's similar to triage. I'll have to look and see though. It's not something we discussed about jamming them to make it effective.
Can you damp the crap? You know what I mean? Like,
well, no, they drop them at 0,
and that's
so they sit them right on top of the node. So there's literally not much you can do about it. You can't, like I think they get a mass bonus when they go to the industrial core. So I don't even think you can really bump them very much.
Well, this goes into one of those things that I think that it'll be interesting to see if CCP comes out with an answer right away, or I predict that this is the kind of thing that CCP may not respond to at all for a little while, because this is the sort of issue that you kind of want to give the players an opportunity to really work it out themselves, because there may be an answer that we just haven't stumbled upon yet.
Maybe so. I mean, I'm going off his post and him finding something, and so looking at the post and what he said, I haven't had a chance to look into it and see if they've mentioned something about it. But
on the other hand, I would not be surprised. Well, can other ships, like kind of fax, go into triage and get effectively the same thing?
Yes.
So was that a problem before?
It's a similar thing, but they don't have the panic module, meaning they're not rendered invulnerable. So technically, if you brought enough bombers, you could alpha through the tank of a auxiliary carrier. But with that you can't do that.
But I thought the effects of the panic button doesn't apply to the Rorqual itself.
No, it doesn't apply to other Rorquals.
Other
so
Rorquals,
if there's
okay.
5 of them in a belt, it doesn't actually shield the other ones.
The trump here is that Rorquals have an offensive capability with their drones. Triaged faxes don't, right? They have very little offensive capability.
Yeah, they can use like heavy drones. They can't use fighters or anything like that.
So I think this is the pie in the sky solution. So because it might not work mechanically, but an easy solution might be to make it so that your panic module doesn't activate while your Entosis is cycling. Because the Entosis module, it holds you there as a way of being like, no, dude, you've committed to this choice. And so, allowing the panic module to allow you to uncommit from the choice effectively, I I don't know if that would be a solution, a quick and easy
Yeah.
solution, but it doesn't really necessarily fix. Well, they could also apply that to other state things, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
well, literally, here's how the Atosis process worked for NCPL for like the longest time before we started seeing a lot of their caps on the. We would have an interceptor fleet or a Zippo fleet respond. As soon as we land on grid with whatever ship was in toasting, Sino would go up, capitals come in. I mean, that was literally the mantra for most of it.
Doesn't that take like a whole bunch longer to use rope walls?
Yeah, it still gets the times 5 extra time added to it or whatever it is. I have to look and see what the bonus is.
And like, how many nodes are spawned at any given one time?
I think it's 3 when it first starts, and they progressively grow over the timer, unless they're killed.
That's interesting because I guess if you can absolutely guarantee a rope wall and support fleet at every single point, then that kind of sucks. I thought there was more than 3. I thought there was like 7 or 8 at one time, but I guess that's even. It's not
Well,
unreasonable
again, that's
to
at
find
the
7
start.
or 8.
And that depends
Yeah.
on how many other timers are going on in that constellation at the same time. So literally, you could have 50, 60 nodes if you have an entire constellation that's been RF'd like we had at one point.
So the reason why I ask this is because like this happens sometimes in faction warfare when you're fighting over a system in plexes. So the opponents may bring something that allows them to basically just stomp all over the medium or large plexes, right? Like you can't deal with it. But if you manage to grab all of the novices and smalls, which are frigates and destroyer only, then because those plexes end sooner, you can get more of them done at one time in the same amount of time. So in the same sort of way, if they can't control all of the nodes, then the dudes that run around and do get the nodes 5 times faster might be able to make up for it. But again, I'm totally talking out my ass here. So
the thing is whack-a-mole. What
sure.
Aegis-Ov is whack-a-mole. So one of the things we did when they were using capitals was use T2 Entosis rapiers to get a bonus with the T2 Entosis link. They can stay off longer and have a better chance of coming off the Entosis and getting away if a response fleet comes in. There was even instances where we had an Entosis rapier Entosis the same node as, say, a Force Auxiliary, but since the T2 is faster, due to the penalty to the Entosising of a capital, we would win that node. But that's only if there's no response fleet.
Right.
The security and locking down all your nodes and controlling them with impunity is way better than, even though you're taking a 400% penalty on a triage fax, is way more secure and feasible to just tell your guys to go AFK and watch a show while you lock down all these nodes and the guys in the Entosis chat discuss which nodes are taken down. It's way easier to guard that fleet than have a bunch of cruisers running around that could get easily whelped. And
well, here's a question then. What about, like, I remember it used to be that people would just basically Entosis an entire like region in one night. So what if you just burned an entire area and then got a whole bunch of nodes, more than they can control, and then whatever they don't control, that's what you burn? Like, I guess I understand that if they have total node control with capitals and you have no way of escalating the fight up to be able to punish them for that decision, then maybe that's their territory, like
Yeah,
that.
I'm not saying what they did was poor sportsmanship or whatever. Eve Bushido, whatever the hell you want to talk about on it. They
No, I'm
use
not,
their
I'm not even
capital.
talking about.
They use their capital assets effectively to deny, deny us from our solve in that regard. It's the same way they're using with the Keepstar. They kept all their supers at max range away from the Keepstar, so the Keepstar was basically ineffective against them, and used their heavy fighter bombers to DPS it down.
Right.
So, and the same effect, they use their supers and their carriers and stuff like that to run nodes and stuff like that to make it incredibly difficult for us to respond. I mean, we still got some capital kills here and there, but that's ones they effectively couldn't get to in a quick manner.
Are they attacking or defending? Sorry.
They are attacking. We basically
Okay.
the war for tribute
Okay.
is over. It's
Right.
basically over. We're just waiting for the keep star to go into his final timer and us have a good old fight there and be done with it.
Right. Yeah, if they're attacking, then yeah, you can't control the battlefield because they're controlling how they're striking. So
Well,
basically, they're just this giant lumbering war machine.
well, technically we did for a while. When you had the cyno inhibitors up for the systems, we had a somewhat of a blanket there for a while. But once you start taking the jump points within tribute and taking down the eye hubs and removing those cyno inhibitors, basically you're giving them their ability to move around freely with their cynos.
Well, I mean, bully on them. If they keep messing around, then they're gonna just get them taken away. So, but like I said, I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily an inherently problematic thing, but if it does become a problem, then you can just say, well, I guess capitals don't get Intosis links. But I think the times 5 would be a pretty huge hindrance.
I think goons will adopt it, and then it'll get fixed.
I think this was the first real. Everyone's pretty much on par saying this is the first real test of Aegis Sov, other than maybe what Triumphant's been doing and what they've been gone through. I came from a group in Eve from Alliance called Alts, where we basically set the most timers ever in Eve for one day. I think we set 153 timers.
So blame all problems on you, Roger.
But we'll have to see. Right now, the Rorqual seems pretty cancerous for Intosing. I'm sorry, I kind of brought us off on a tangent with Aegis Sov and stuff like that.
I mean, lore-wise, shouldn't it be that Intosising is an aggressive, offensive kind of combat activity, and that Rorquals are truly an industrial ship? Should they be able to do combat things other than defensive purposes?
Well, you can Intosis an adventure, but
Yeah,
it may be. Well, what's the rules of, like? I guess can you fire if you've got drones on? Then the drones shut off as soon as you hit panic. I would think that the panic module, if nothing else, would shut off the Intosis module, right?
The thing is, you have a crazy local tank,
Yes, it
right?
does.
So you need
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
a 50-man fleet to take down the Rorqual with the local tank already, right?
And they rep each other, so they're basically like faxes. Like when I
Yeah.
read the stats for these things, I was like, this is gonna be nuts. Like, what are you doing? They're literally faxes that mine.
well, and again, you go back to the whack-a-mole thing. If you're sending 50, 62s to take on this Rorqual, he goes into panic. You can't do anything. So you need to get your fleet off there. But if you leave, he can go right back to what he was doing.
And actually, what's even worse is as the potential of Rorquals, if they don't do something about it and it does run away, more and more people, because the Rorqual hasn't been good for a long time, so people weren't trained into it, and people didn't have them. If they're proving to be useful, then more people are going to get them, and then there's going to be even bigger stuff. And you know what? They just brought back slow cats, like literally.
And they also get a
Yeah.
reduction to the fatigue timers from
No, like literally brought back slow cats. Not even like figuratively. They are faxes with sentries.
and they don't have the punishments that capitals do with jump fatigue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't. I agree that I don't see this staying the way it is for very long, but I'll be interested to see how they deal with the Intosis panic / Ewar immunity balance.
Yeah, I think it won't be till after the new year though. So get at it while the getting's good.
By the way, I want to point something out. This is a great example of the proper use of the term cancer. Like so many people say, "Oh, this is cancer," to mean like a UI that looks crappy or a feature that doesn't work right. But what cancer is, in a mechanics point of view or in a game design point of view, is something that a strategy that becomes so predominant that it spreads through the population, and eventually it becomes basically the only good path because it's its own counter or whatever, for whatever reason. And so like the Svitpol could arguably been cancer, but this could very well be the next one.
Effectively, it is. If you can field these things and respond to them as they're in toasting or whatever it is you're doing, it's really hard to beat that.
Yeah, it's probably gonna get to a point where everyone's gonna want to have a rorqual in their fleet.
Which is going to be interesting because they only get shield boosts. So it's, I wonder how much shield capitals are going to kind of take the line. Isn't there reasons why you don't use why you use armor capitals over shield capitals right now?
Watch that video from the Revenant and Lagoon caps dying. The reason you don't use shield caps is because they were just neutered out. And as soon as neutered out, there goes your
Yeah.
resist and you're done.
Okay. So I guess this would be a buff to shield capital fleets somehow.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's just right now it's a real tough play to get around to figure out how best to beat it if there's an immediate way to do that. At the moment, there just really isn't.
No, you can't command SE them. Damn it.
But it is what it is. I'm not mad at what they did. It's, they had an effective strategy and it worked. And then, just like the Keep Star fight, they used their fighter bombers to DPS it and pause the timer. I mean,
by the way,
what it is.
Between Roke Walls and the new Destroyer Defender missiles coming out, next year is going to be like the year of the shields. Am I right?
Thanks for the follow, Pazimp.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to see those the bomb defending thing in practice first to see how it works well. I mean, if you watch that fight at all, Horde lost their entire fleet to what amounted to, I think, 13 bombers.
That's
yeah.
true. And I can imagine that those new Defender missiles, even if they work fine under normal conditions, under tie-dye, nope. I don't see those working at all.
Well, we beat it around the bush, but we could talk about it briefly in like a 2-second. Goons lost some supers and titans today. It sucked.
Goon.
Yeah, it seems like they got baited out by. I think there's been a dread that keeps jumping in and dying on that pause.
So the story apparently goes that there's a dread who's been attacking jump freighters on the jump beacon node in DTAC W. So we, being goons, baited the dread with a jump freighter. Then we dropped a fishing fleet, including a revenant, 3 titans, and some supers. And they killed the dread, but Hard Knocks had a Tengu wormhole in the system, or had a wormhole in the system, brought a Tengu fleet in. Bubbles went up, Sino went up. A dread cache had been given from test when they deployed down to Delve, when goons just moved in. The dread cache was given to PL, and PL used that to Sino into the system and started engaging our fishing fleet. Now,
It's a really expensive bait.
quite. Now, this wouldn't matter if this was any other system but DTAC W, because when all of the supers and titans undocked from the Keepstar or logged in, they're bouncing off the model, and the beacon is off at some moon. And it's hard to warp in when there's bubbles and screening bubbles up everywhere. You need a good warp in. You just can't Sino in to your own system. So, despite a 200-man super fleet and capital fleet, we could not adequately support them. And the dreads, there were about 44 of them, burned through 3 titans, the revenant, and 3 other supers.
How long was that fight?
Not very long.
I'd say probably maybe 20 minutes, if that. Probably not even that. Probably.
I was thinking, like, could you bounce? Could you like jump to the next system over and then like burn off a little bit of fatigue and then jump back?
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but you know how capital fleets are. They're a bitch to move, and got to make sure all the moving parts are in the right place.
The amount of panic and people just saying, "Hey, undock." It just that mass undock was a problem. Like if to go back and armchair quarterback this,
Oh yeah, no. I'm just trying. Like that's so fascinating to me to think about what just being caught off foot and what that means and what could be done.
But yeah,
effectively, that's a dream that things we were thinking about doing. Grabbing some kind of spearfishing thing from PL, grab some of their super caps and try to dread bomb it and go from there. It just we didn't find the right situation, at least in our point. But that's a dream for people to bait out something like that and for it to work. It just the perfect set of circumstances, and it just went that way.
Well, thank you, Goons, for enhancing our immersion once again.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say already replaced, but
Yeah, probably.
Yay,
So-
content.
So, anywho, that's for the battle reports, and you guys want to move on to the spotlight? That
Yeah.
wasn't the spotlight. Let's move on to the spotlight. The reason we have Mr. Astronauthy on here is because I wanted to talk about the state of faction warfare after it's been two weeks now since ascension.
Yeah, it's definitely heating up. We'll say that, and I will preface this all by saying that I'm in the Galente Caldari war zone. I'm not 100% sure what the Amar Mimitar are doing. They've always been very different than us because they have
Yeah,
like literally half the systems, which really
I
changes their politics.
honestly I don't actually hear a lot about the Amar and Mimitar stuff like ever.
Yeah, the problem is that the Amar Mimitar war zone is a farmed to hell, and b so small that power kind of flips absolutely. So like you'll hear for a little while that there's a big push and they'll either make it or they won't, and then it'll be owned by that side for a little while, and then there'll be a big push, and I'm not really sure what's going on over there. But on the Caldari Galente side of things, there is plenty, oh my god, plenty of intrigue and drama and combat and glory and all kinds of stuff. We had Nenemelia, which has been owned for 5 years. The Galente Federation have owned Nenemelia. As long as I've been in faction warfare, Galente have owned Nenemelia. In fact, when we first joined, we actually, within a few months, moved to Nenemelia because that was the place to be in the Galente Federation. It was like the beating heart. And this week, it fell to the state. Now, it's not the beating heart anymore. Oh, I just lost my camera.
Man down.
earthquake.
I just kicked the cord for my camera. Hold on, let me.
So excited.
Yeah, so exciting. So that was crazy. You know, when we took Ivonin a couple weeks ago, like right before the alpha stuff, we thought that was going to kind of send the message and kind of kowtow them. But what we're seeing is a very, very lively Caldari state. They are plexing up across the entire war zone. And they've made some pretty strategic victories. Now, recently they have set their sights on Vlil. Now, the difference between Vlil and Nen is that Vlil is like currently lived in by an active person. So this is much closer to like our Ivonin offensive, because that's where one of the major corporations lived at the time. So we have a group. I think it's GMVA, but I could be wrong. I'm so bad about some of this stuff. That lives there, and basically everybody's come to help out. Now, yesterday or the day before, we got it to stable, but then they pushed it all the way back up to like 30 to 40% again. And for those of you who don't know, the way that basic faction warfare works is that we complete sites called plexes, which are kind of like Intosis sites, but anybody can do it, and you can do it in a fully fit combat ship, and you can warp off. So you go to the plexes and you run the different plexes, and every time you finish a plex, you move the contested value of the system closer to your side. So if you're attacking the system, you move the vulnerability up. If you are defending the site or the system, then it goes down. And if the system gets to 100%, then the iHub becomes vulnerable. And as many people in nullsec knows, things that are vulnerable get shot at. Once the iHub hits 99% structure, it goes into a kind of invulnerable state or a ref. But the difference is that the next day that system will just be owned by the other side, so that system becomes lost, or when the iHub becomes ref. So that's how control kind of goes back and forth within the war zone. So going back to what I was saying, the Galente have proven that with enough numbers or with enough motivation, we can take a home system. So far, the Caldari state has not proven that, but they have proven that they are probably more alive and effective than in the previous years. I'm not 100% sure because I don't have spies, but it seems to me like they don't have too much as far as like leadership goes. I know that Templis and a couple others have been part of the Cal Mill for a very long time, so they may be calling all of the shots. But I don't like the Gal Mill has 5 or 6 kind of independent entities with leaders that kind of work together. Caldari militia doesn't seem to work the same way, and it's historically not. Like Caldari militia has historically been less organized than the Glente, but at the same time, this is the most organized we've seen the Caldari in quite some time. So it's really exciting right now. So if you're interested, you can join Aeron Robotics, the premier corporation for Galente Alpha clones. We have everything you need. Okay. Sorry.
So as far as numbers go, I'm pretty sure I've seen a lot of data suggesting that Caldari has been received. Like as far as alphas coming in, there's been like more Caldari going in. Is that what you guys seeing?
I haven't. Let me actually. There is a stats that I can find right now. Let me look at it.
Yeah. So
The
from what I
population.
understood, yeah.
It looks like all 4 races got a pretty sizable bump. Now, the state has been historically more populous than the Federation for a long time, although looking now, it looks like it's basically become even. Both of them shot up really high. Looked like they jumped by over 20,000. So they were at 5,000 each on the 13th, and then on the 15th, they're at 25,000. So, at this point, there's this huge surge of membership from both sides. But it does look that like the Caldari got a few thousand more than the Galente did, which is normal. Like for people who just want to process it from like an ISK side of view, not being locked out of Jita is a super like tempting offer for a lot of Caldari. So a lot of people like to go Caldari. But yeah, we'll just like I said, we'll have to see how it all gets applied in the weeks ahead. The big thing is that citadels have become incredibly important in faction warfare. Like the number one most important thing when it comes to warzone control at this point is becoming citadel ownership and distribution. So being able to effectively apply those alphas in a citadel war, like we can use alphas for plexing war all we want, but if you're having problems with citadels, the question will be, can we use them in that kind of warfare?
Sorry, we're all bragging about which is obviously the best faction, and because I have the mic, it's obviously Minmatar.
Obviously.
Chat is completely incorrect.
The
Galente forever.
Minmatar do have good allies.
So from your standpoint, is faction warfare great again? Is it better than ever?
I mean, it's lively, which is good.
Yeah.
But I think that Citadels is causing a problem, and I think that problem is going to be compounded, compounded over time. Kind of like what happened with nullsec when outposts started being able to be built, right? Like the big thing is that ownership of a system is important in faction warfare, in part because it locks your enemies out. In low sec, anybody can dock anywhere. But in faction warfare, by signing up for faction warfare, you're agreeing to not be allowed to dock in enemy stations. So, like, if I take Avonin from the Caldari state, that locks them out of their station completely. And they have to drop out of faction warfare or contract it out of faction warfare alts or whatever they got to do, or evac it somehow. But Citadels don't have that problem. And Citadels don't have anchoring problems or anchoring penalties like you get in nullsec in order to prevent you from, or allow you to prevent enemies from establishing beachheads. So basically, you just drop an Asterhus in a system, and now you've got literally 2 weeks of invulnerable weapons platform or engagement platform in order to reship over and over and over again. And that's literally how Ivonin fell, right? Like if that Astrahus was not anchored in that system, we wouldn't have been able to do that offensive. We wouldn't have been able to reship 5 times in a single fight because we would have been we'd have to be in the next closest system. But here's the problem: there's no way to change that, because unless you just say that you're not even allowed to dock into citadels if you're in faction warfare in the enemy systems, even if you're granted permission, because
I wouldn't like that.
right, like they've even said like, oh well, what if we do like a longer anchoring timer like in nullsec? But the problem is that in nullsec it's everyone, not me. In faction warfare it's only the 2 entities that are really impacted by this, and like the pirates aren't. So why wouldn't I just drop an Asterhus with pirate faction and then allow the militia into it, or even just transfer it once it's anchored?
Yeah.
Was
So
there a
it's,
fight over that particular Astor House anchoring?
I don't think so. Yes, yes there. I believe that there was. I don't remember, but I mean,
Yeah, once that happens, so you expand again past the faction warfare thing, where each group's phoning in people to come help them. So you get the pirate group showing up.
yeah, I mean, for better or worse, it's a different faction warfare. Now, the same thing happened in nullsec and on other systems, and people just had to adapt to a different kind of war zone. And we're going to have to do the same. But with all these alphas coming in, I suspect that faction warfare will see a revamp probably pretty soon. Once they get their feet underneath them next year. So I think right now is more like trying to leverage control and power enough to get us to the next place.
Yeah. Okay. So from your standpoint though, and from what I understand, if you want to make some good extra money as an alpha, faction warfare is probably a good bet right now.
It's super good. Like, it's not actually as good as it was like 2 weeks ago, because now the Galante's in tier 2 instead of tier 3. The higher the tier, the more your reward. But like my Galente Alpha in about 5 or 6 hours made about 150,000, a million ISK worth of LP.
Oh, that's not
Now,
bad at all.
Now you have to go through the process of like buying the right stuff and going to market,
Yeah.
and the market's crashing and all that other bogus stuff. But it's pretty good. And the nicest thing about it is that it's the only PvE in the game that you can do in a fully PvP ship, because there's one rat, and if you can kill that one rat, then you get to just sit there and wait for somebody to come fight you. So either you get fights or you get paid, and either way, it's good.
Yeah, awesome. So moving along with the alpha scenario, Noisy Gamer linked to me on Twitter. There was a video he saw from Eve Business Insider, which I've never heard of Eve Business Insider before, but it was a video that he did that talked about, what you can do as an alpha and how you should do that. And about 8 or 9 minutes into it, he talked about, so once you've enjoyed the game for a couple weeks, you need to go and subscribe to the game and buy 2 plaques and buy a bunch of skill injectors, because that's the only way to enjoy the game. And I was like, whoa, that's like, I don't know. Is it? I don't agree with that.
I don't either, but I also don't agree that mining is pointless. Right?
Yeah, I don't think mine's.
I mean,
I like.
Right, but my point is that people say incorrect opinions about what the correct way to play Eve is all the time. It's just a different incorrect opinion as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, when he said like you have to go buy Plex to enjoy the game, I'm just like, that's ridiculous. But anywho, I don't want to spurge on that. Uh, with the alpha thing, so I've created an alpha. Astaroth, you've created alpha, or 4 rather, I think, right? So you made 4.
I'm up to
And
4.
then-
I know I'm actually wanting to build a 5th.
Yeah, and then I think all of us who murdered alpha.
I have just enough time for Omegas, and I'm playing a lot of Bloodborne at the moment. So
Yeah, I see that. What about you, Orion?
I just haven't had time yet. I'm currently working full time and going to school. So what time I get on Eve is kind of just dedicated to my mains.
So sitting around in the operations center all day for 12 hours, I've had plenty of time to make a few alphas and sit in rookie chat. Like, I went through the tutorials, the new player experience the other day. Just didn't take me very long, but after I did that, I sat in rookie chat for hours yesterday, trying to answer questions just in the rookie help chat, and then if there was something more in depth, I would like individually convo somebody and start answering questions.
Are you okay?
It was freaking rough. Like I wanted to blow my brains out. So let me go over some of the questions that I saw kept coming over and over and over again. Number one question I saw all the time: what weapons can I use that don't take ammo? Well, they all take ammo.
Well, actually, you could say that if you don't want to worry about ammo, then you should fly with a Mar.
Well, yeah, for crystals, but it still takes some sort of ammunition.
That's true, but you gotta think about what the person's actually asking, right? So like they don't want to fiddle with ammo. So if you don't want to fiddle with ammo, just get a lasers, grab a crystal set, or maybe 2 or 3. Maybe you can handle that. You don't have to worry about constantly rearming. That's what they're worrying about. So just tell them that T1 MR crystals don't run out of ammo. It's one of the only things that's good about using an MR Alpha Clone.
Yeah, but I think people were like mostly concerned about like I don't have to keep buying ammunition over and over again, but like that's hardly relevant as far as ammunition is cheap,
It's true.
cheapish.
It's also, I mean, it's also relatively easy to build yourself if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So then the following question was, where do I get more blueprints? And then here's a question that I kept seeing that was messing with my mind for a while, and I had to like consult the GM because I had no idea what these people were talking about. How do I activate my sensor overlay?
Oh yeah. So the sensor overlay is to the left of the HUD, right? Right above the scanning systems.
Yeah, and that's so like so eventually what I found out is they're talking about probes, but I guess
Oh,
I don't know because I kept trying to refine the question and trying to figure out like what exactly they're talking about, and I think they're talking about probes. I guess there's some sort of mission, one of the starter missions that talks about probing and activating your sensor overlay, but I've just never
Well,
referred to it as that.
if you put your mouse right next to your capacitor or next or above your shield, right near the edge there, they have that sensor overlay, and there's actually a switch to turn it on and off.
yeah. It's the tactical view.
Oh,
Or
it's
Is
called
that
sensor overlay.
is it?
If you It's called sensor overlay. There's a tab to switch on and off. You can toggle off anomalies, landmarks, personal.
so so you're talking about the
Oh,
ring around the capacitor that shows where things are in space, right?
Yes,
Is that not just on by default?
I
Mine
don't
was.
know. It may very well be. It may not be for some people. You know how things can be a little wonky sometimes. So
I
it
mean,
it
also
may be.
it could be that it referenced it. It could say see like you can see this on your sensor overlay, and then they go, I don't know where the sensor overlay is. But instead of saying that, they say, how do I turn it on?
yeah. And the other thing I found was that when people would see instructions like that or do this or that, they didn't realize that they had to be undocked for that. Like they see instructions like it says I have to warp to this place, but how can I warp there? Well, where are you? They're like, well, I'm in a station. Well, you have to undock first. So there wasn't. So some of the NPE things aren't as obvious as they should be. I
You
think.
you've never worked in tech support, have you?
No, I know. That's pretty much what I was doing yesterday. Was like, all right, first step, undock your ship.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's basic training. You're teaching people who have never done army stuff to army.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I equated to. I was just like, I'm dealing with a bunch of privates right now. Let me just focus, calm down, get to my woosaw, smoke a cigarette, have a Mountain Dew.
That's like so I deal with alphas a lot in Aderon, obviously, and so I get a lot of questions like that, and I quickly resort to show me a screenshot, show me what you're talking about, because the problem is that new players don't even know how to accurately describe what it is that
Yeah,
they're looking at, and so they'll use terms, and you assume that they're using terms correctly, but
yeah,
they're not.
yeah, and that's why I just wanted to do all the alpha stuff myself, so that way I can actually see it myself and try to recreate it.
But the question of where to go to buy more blueprints is actually a really interesting one, though. I can't believe because you can buy just normal blueprints in the market or whatever, but then if you want to really get into it, then you will probably need to go to contracts and look up the blueprints there, and then you got to learn how to evaluate the blueprints for whether or not they're valuable enough and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
but when it came to questions like where do I get more blueprints, or one guy asked how do I place buy orders, we're talking about literally hours old characters that have
yeah,
like this is my first day, and like why are you asking these questions? You should not at all be worried about this right now. But I think people are telling them, or they're seeing on blogs or videos, oh, this is what you got to do, and they're just assuming immediately day one this is what I should do.
well, I think people are coming into this with preconceptions about what kind of role they want to or could fill, because a lot of the people that are coming in right now, especially right now, have some exposure to Eve before. There's a reason why they know that Eve is out and Eve is free to play. So they have some basic exposure to some of the stuff, but it may not be complete exposure. So like they know that industry is a big or a thing, and they've heard stuff about it. And the tutorial showed them it and said, oh, well, this is how to build stuff. So now they feel empowered. They know how to
Yeah.
build stuff. So now the question is,
How
where's
do I
the
build
stuff
more
to
stuff?
build? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I built the data analyzer for the tutorial. I built the venture that they gave
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and now what?
Yeah. So yeah, and then with that, I saw a lot. Hey, like I just started playing yesterday. What cruiser should I buy? Or hey, and who can give me a cruiser to play because I just started playing and I can't afford it.
Right, and again, that's you got to think about who's asking this. So they're an alpha,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they think of cruisers as being the best thing that they can do. So you got to treat this like the question of what battleship should I fly from a
Yeah.
week old character, right? Because
Yeah.
really all they're asking is what is the cool thing? And what you've really got to do is teach them that the cool thing is actually the frigates and destroyers a
Yeah,
lot of the time.
absolutely. I kept telling them that, and they were like, "No, no, but I want more power, more TPS, more shields." And I think
Well,
mechanics are gonna come. They're gonna come eventually with a few weeks worth.
Right, and you just simply say that's fine. For what you want to do, this is a good cruiser, but just realize that when it comes to starting to fight, you're going to want to work with smaller ships because otherwise you'll just be outmaneuvered.
yeah, I mean, we all know that we want everyone to start off in frigates so they learn piloting basics, learn, tackling and all these other little things that come with it. But everyone else, when you first come in here, I remember my first time looking at this game, I wanted to fly Megathron. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Look at this thing.
There's also the added problem of depending on how new the character is, they did the MPE, they did the career agents, now they're doing the sisters agents, and they found out that in order to finish the sister career agents, you probably need a cruiser. So now they
Uh,
want a cruiser.
Actually, one of my buddies that I started doing, I had him start playing here. I didn't make him start playing; he wanted to. He did the Sisters of Eve missions in a destroyer.
That is
Finished it.
impressive. That
Yeah, finished it
that
off.
I all I know is that final dude is
Dagon.
such a yeah, Dagon is
Yeah.
just such a
So
jerk.
so it's interesting that you said that, Ash. You're talking about like they did the MPE, they did the starter missions, they did this, but I find that sometimes it's not the case because another couple questions were, how do I finish the tutorial,
Yeah.
or how do I mine?
Well, that first one is actually really important too, because the tutorial gets bugged, and there is an ability to restart the tutorial that works really,
Yes,
really well. But
but it's not obvious.
it's not obvious.
Which I had to like. I'm telling you, that was probably a dozen times. I would have to explain to people like, okay, look at the thing where it says the operations info panel. There's a question mark. Click that. Restart.
Thankfully, that's getting fixed next patch.
Oh, goody.
Well, I mean,
That
like
was rough.
they haven't literally said that it's being fixed, but we're getting an Inception 1.5 patch. They've said that they're fixing a lot of stuff, and they even said in one of the interviews or whatever, or one of the whatever they're talking about, they specifically cited the fact that it was, oh no, it was the '07 show. They were talking about it, and they mentioned that the reset button was not being noticed or not being understood by people. So they specifically called that out as a problem.
Thanks for the follow, Drywall 40.
Yeah, but and then how do I mine? Just send them to the
You
career
think you,
agents.
yeah, I was like, didn't they teach you that in one of the career agents?
Well, again, rookie chat. They might not have seen it, so just tell them to hit what is it, F12? Yeah, F12, and then show career agents.
You just need 2 wood sticks. and an iron bar. No, 3 iron bars, and then you just put them in the T shape.
Now, one thing that CCP didn't do, which boggles my mind, is they did not utilize their new Flight Academy videos in the tutorial. So if you go into the F12 menu and you go to the the tutorial videos tab, there's a bunch of videos that are actually pretty cool, including planetary interaction. And oh, look, there's a mining video. So you can actually drag this mining video and drop it in the new player help video channel and hit it. And then if they click on the link, it'll just play the video in the client.
Yeah, they should tie those in for sure.
They really should.
Yeah,
And
I don't understand why they don't.
And I was thinking about that. Like, the NPE is fine, but at the same time, I feel like they should have, some sort of tutorial video or something at the beginning of it that explains, that just kind of like shows you. I mean, I guess you can just go to YouTube. That's what I would do. Like, the first thing I thought when people were asking these questions, like, did you try Google or YouTube first before you started asking these dumb questions?
Well,
ironically, there's actually a video called Your Place in New Eden. There's also another video called Interacting with Others.
there should be
yeah.
There should be just an achievement that you get at the end of the tutorial that clearly says you completed the tutorial. Go out on your own, and that's the next step of the NPE, right?
Right. Yeah, the end of the MPE is definitely probably the weakest part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's clearly designed to like attach into the next component, which we don't have yet.
Yeah, it pulls you in. I liked it, and I actually tried to tank the shit out of the Circadian Seekers, but I got disconnected, and then I got back in my pod. But it's good to engage you, pull you in. You're like, yeah, I'm part of this awesome war. But then when you actually get back to the station and you got to start, from scratch, like, well, I can't really do that stuff yet. Now, can I?
I think there's a disconnect there. You do all this cool stuff with your faction and whatnot, but they don't really get into. They don't really get into. Okay, it didn't seem like they get into you're a capsuleer now. The world is, it's a different, almost different shard to reality between the factions.
Yeah, that was not the real life. That was just fantasy. Caught in a landslide.
I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole with you, man.
Okay. Anywho, but yeah. So if you want to enjoy this game, though, you got to play with people, and that's a big thing that some people didn't realize. And I talked to one guy, and he said, I've been playing this game for 17 hours now, and I don't know if I like it. So what was my first question to him? Have you talked to anybody or tried playing with other people? Well, no. I want to do this game solo.
It's also, I mean, it isn't abundantly clear how a 17-hour-old person is supposed to make their first contact.
Exactly.
I think that
exactly.
I think that there's a lot of things that can capture new, players after the MPE, and a lot of things that aren't necessarily advertised as well. Like, I spent 2 or 3 hours just doing anoms and HiSec, looking for escalations and playing around with other stuff. The rewards sucked, but there's a chance of actually getting something really cool. There's all kinds of really interesting stuff in this game. And I think that they're going to be working on a system to kind of connect people to things next. That's the next phase, according to CCP Ghost.
So I think we, as veterans, need to get a white paper together or something and see if we can submit that to CCP Ghost, because there are definitely some things that need to change or be different as far as the NPE and the tutorial goes. But I think CCP knows that. I hope they know that.
Well, no, I mean, I did an interview with CCP Ghost, and we talked a little bit about the next steps and all that stuff. And that is basically the goal, is like a command center where it's like, okay, you've made it this far. Now, like, here are things that are happening, or maybe even like, here are things that you can do. And then when you select those things, then it kind of guides you to go find a way to do it, and then maybe teaches you what you need to do as it happens. And it's to potentially replace like career agents or whatever.
The biggest thing is just finding a way to make to interact. If you can't get these people away after the tutorial to interact with people in a more meaningful way past even the chats, I think you lose the biggest value of Eve itself.
I strongly disagree, actually. So, what's interesting is that what I think that we've learned is that the longer we can, as long as people interact with a person in space, then that usually invokes the most meaningful stuff. It's not like you just go into a chat room and talk to somebody, or whatever. It's interacting with somebody in space. So the idea is that if you make the universe engaging enough and you distract them and lead them through it and make them want to be part of the universe, then they'll go and be part of the universe. And then eventually, laws of probability says that eventually something will happen to them, and that will be the difference. That was what was so good about, or that was the one really good thing about the daily functions as it worked, which is that they didn't ask you to do something that seemed like you had to figure out how to do it. It was just go do this thing. And even if only 1% of the time something cool came out of it, that was still more cool things happening than were before. So in the same sort of way, if you make high sec PvE or universe interaction engaging enough, then people will be out there doing that stuff. And then lo and behold, we'll interact with each other and with other people.
Okay, so I'm gonna say one more thing. That was the best question, but then we're gonna do shout outs because apparently Ashtarothi is monologuing.
I'm sorry, I'll stop.
That's fine. So one of the funniest questions that someone asked in the rookie chat was, do the planets orbit around the stations? And I'm just like sitting there, Jesus, physics, man.
Did you tell them they're all flat and you just walk across them?
Right? So that was just funny. But anyway, so alphas are doing good, learn a lot of things. If you're a veteran player and you got some time, just go into the rookie help channel and just help these guys out. They could use it.
Yeah, I'm sure the GMs could use a break.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about local and jitta type of chatter where it's just one thing after the other and the other, and just like, geez, man, can I get? You can't even like figure out which question you're answering before more questions start popping up.
Pro tip to anybody who does want to do that and maybe didn't know this, you can grab somebody's picture like as they're in their chat or their name and drag it into the chat and hot link to them. So if you're
Yeah.
typing to somebody, it's always good to hot link their name first so that way they know that you're responding to them and not somebody else.
Yeah, I try to do that, but when people like respond back to me with the a secondary question, they don't do that. So anywho, let's roll into shout outs.
Well, our first big shout out goes to number one fan of the show, Busing, for being.
Number one, baby.
We got to get him like a T-shirt and like a plaque and like fan of the month, fan of the year.
As soon as we make a T-shirt, Busing will be the first person to get one.
Yeah, thanks for supporting us on Patreon, Busing. It's great.
You should use his Eve portrait as the background for the podcast next time.
Yes.
Or we gotta make
right.
yeah. We'll come up with something.
All right, Ryan, you want to hit us up with some shout outs, man?
Just shout to CO2. You guys are doing awesome. My corporate dystopian heaven and all my bros there, and you all for having me on again. Thank you.
Hold the line.
Yeah, man. All right, Ash, hit us up with Aderon's recruiting.
Actually, Aderon is recruiting, and we're the premier corporation for Galente Alpha Clones. Come check us out. Also, check out my stream. I'm streaming several days a week. But today, I'm actually going to give my shout out to Eve Scout. He's another guy who's a streamer, and he has been out there helping the new bros day in and day out. Eve Scout helped form Signal Cartel and really kind of espouses this idea of just like extreme commitment to exploration and even to the extent of passivity and just friendly gameplay. And he brings that to the stream too. He's a really awesome dude to watch. And if you want to up your exploration game, he's the guy to check out, even better than mine.
Former guest of the show.
Nice.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah, and he's actually been making quite a bit of the rounds because he wants to make sure everybody knows how to do their stuff.
Nice. Murdud, what you got, man?
I'm gonna shout out Reload for Zkill guides. Those things always crack me up. It's gonna be the
Yes.
outro video to our show tonight here, because his last one was of the Stabber, and I
Nice.
mean, it's not a good ship, but I definitely love flying it, and you should always trust the rust.
We were all cheeky scrub lords.
I like how you said that like he didn't crap all over the stabber during that video.
Shh, shh, shh. It's perfect. It's perfect.
The funny thing is, though, every time he puts a video out, you'll see an explosion of that ship being used, and it's great.
Nice. All right, so then for me, I just want to make sure we shout out. Hey, we're on Twitter at Kill Decadence, at Murdud_Eve, at Astarothi, and at Orion Solo. Oh, thank you. I just got our bit. Happy day for me. Um, anyways, oh, and I got another rip. It's Rip It holiday for me. Merry Christmas.
Let's say, who put a question mark on the teleprompter for Kale?
Make sure to
Yeah,
use our Discord channel. It's linked in the
make sure you find us,
channel.
but most importantly, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and damn near any podcast app that you got, you can download us on. Make sure check us out, mindclash.live. We're gonna have past broadcasts I have on there. I started doing blog posts on there, so everything is gonna be centralized on mindclash.live just for future reference. But finally, I'd like to make a shout out to one of my buddies in real life. He's been started his own business and he's been trying to get some sales. He's been doing some unorthodox sales advertising. He went on Chat Roulette the other day and actually made sales by going through Chat Roulette and trying to advertise his product. So I told him I would do it for him on here, shplates.com, and he sells customized engraved steel plates that you can use to like throw in your backpack or your ruck for adding extra weight for working out and stuff like that.
Wait, where was he advertising this on?
Chat Roulette.
As seen on Chat Roulette.
Yeah. So that was very unorthodox but awesome nonetheless.
Apparently, Drywall 40 is an alpha. Under the name of Taz Glock. We should be social with him.
So yeah, be social. That's the final note. Be social with people on EVE Online. It's a social game, guys.
Yeah, join our Discord, ask some questions, talk about the show, tell us how many times we screw up, and tell all your friends.
All of the friends. All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
See if I make the video work.
Today we have the track builder.
Just smash that Rip It.
This box comes with 4 different builds. Let's get started.